of like the Las Vegas, California of Australia. Beautiful beaches, girls, guys, and there's surf everywhere.
There's a bubble around the Byron Shire. It's a different way of building a house, a different way of having a relationship to the air, to the water, to the land.
How those two places ended up an hour apart, I don't know. Must be some cruel joke someone's playing.
I see it as a bit of a, how would you call it, like a clash of two different sort of worlds.
Out of a population of 20 million people, 2.8 million Australians claim that they surf, which is more than 1 in 10 people.
On the Goldie, surfing is like NASCAR racing is in Tennessee, you know.
The soul surfing thing's alive and well here. Your soul surfers surf by themselves and they're just happy to, you know.
People give waves to each other, so it's pretty cool.
And people will say shit to you like, what? Do you want all the waves? And you go, yes, I want all the fucking waves, mate. And what are you going to do about it?
The North Coast, New South Wales and the Gold Coast really neatly represent the two poles of the modern surfing world. The Gold Coast and Byron Bay are the northeast and southeast flanks of the original ancient volcano of Mount Warning or Wollumben. And the fact that all those kind of ridges of lava flow, you know, to the north where we have the Gold Coast, they should have one character, and to the south in northern New South Wales they should have a completely different character is kind of intriguing because, you know, they're made of the same stuff.
The Gold Coast is really split in two parts. There's the southern points from Snapper to Burleigh, and then there's the northern Gold Coast, which is Surfers Paradise. It's marketed as the plastic fantastic and trying to be the California dream or the Waikiki dream, or whereas the other part of the Gold Coast, as I knew it, used to be really just like a fishing town and a bit of surfing, and you know, I've really seen it develop from it went from a pretty small place to what now is more people are moving here than anywhere else in Australia. It's also now a major surfing destination. It's changed, you know, it's not just a little country town, not a little surf town anymore, but in other areas it hasn't changed. You know, I mean, I've lived here all my life and I'm still a crazy surfer. Going in the ocean is a contest. You actually have to strategise, and sometimes you have to use all your animal cunning and instinct to pull it off. It is a sport.
To say that surfing is, strictly speaking, is a competitive sport is ridiculous, you know. It's not football, it's not tennis, it's not golf. I think it's a much more valid argument to say that surfing has these intrinsic qualities that are unique to it. Spent the last 30 years on or around these beautiful waves and beaches on the North Coast. The North Coast is still unbelievably beautiful. I mean, the space is just amazing, you know? Just the feeling of space, of having that thing where you can look forever and there ain't anybody. There's not a lot of places in the world that have got this many really unique point surf and really unique points, you know. And so from a surfing angle, I mean, that's fantastic. Anybody that takes this sacrament every day you possibly can, over a lifetime, that certainly makes a change to your thinking. That would be a much more healthy way for surfing to be sort of recognised.
A real change was happening in surfing, and Australia was really the place where it was happening.
The Australian energy just swept in and overcame this sort of lackadaisical cruiser California mentality.
Californians were kind of like the gentlemen surfers, and Hawaiians were like the kings. But the Australians, they were raw, determined, and they wanted to lay their mark.
Nat won the World Championships in San Diego at the end of 1966, and the Americans set about just pretending nothing had happened. And then I put my foot in it and I wrote a piece entitled We're Tops Now. I couldn't go back to America for about 20 years after that one.
Nat was really the leading force, and it was his sheer determination and aggression that led the charge for Australian surfers.
They turned effortlessly from trough to curl and established the foundations of everything that followed in surfing.
We were doing that first really serious outside surfing of Lennox Head, as big as it gets, on boards that were just spaceships. I mean, I went along with all the bullshit. I believed that surfing was a sport, and I'd been led to believe that the only way to prove how good you are is to be a successful competitive surfer. And you see, after I stepped out of all of that, the whole deck of cards of competitive surfing collapsed.
I mean, that was into his hippie phase, and he just wanted to groove on creation too.
I figured you could do a surfing magazine and you could also cover politics or environmental concerns or whatever else.
Tracks was a Australian take on a surf magazine that was completely fresh, journalistically sophisticated, and maybe the hippest youth cultural magazine being published in the world at that time.
Well, Tracks was a revolution from the beginning because it was a newspaper. There was more to surfing than a bunch of pretty pictures. There was a cultural statement. It was a rebellion against the prevailing wisdom of the time that you had to go and get a real job. It was a rebellion against the Vietnam War.
It was the first time we realised that governments really lied to us, and I think we worked out that we didn't have to do what we were told, and that fitted really neatly to hopping in a car and going surfing on the north coast of New South Wales.
As a surfer, it was like finding utopia.
We created a romantic idea of it. People like Nat and Bob McTavish became important figures, and they were friends of mine. It was a bit of a gang, and I had the facility to put them on the pages of magazines, and we were quite effective, actually.
I think that everybody involved thought that we were creating a template, if you like, for the way of the future, that people would get money simply for surfing, not going in contests and winning prize money, but they would just make money out of being great surfers because everybody would know, because everybody would read the magazines and the books and see the movies.
These young kids on the Gold Coast, Rabbit, Michael Peterson and Peter Townend, they wanted to be serious professional surfers and make a living, and they had a mission.
That was the downside of the great exodus from Nat's whole era, was that no one stayed to help nurture pro surfing. But I had this unfaltering belief in the destiny of the sport, that there would be a sport.
This is where you have the issue of the colliding cultures. One views it as art and one views it as money and sport.
There was a lot of resistance to what we were doing. You know, we were being told on one thing that if you put your Connors jersey on, it's like you sell your soul to the devil. What my dream really was to be able to walk down the street of Coolangatta as a pro surfer and have respect.
We were going to make money and there were going to be big contests and we were going to get written up in the sports pages and pro surfing was going to be on TV, you had to act like the tennis players and the rest of them. You couldn't be a hippie.
Peter Druin was kind of my hero. Nat had the big international name, and Nat was like a super demigod or something. But Druin was the Queensland champion.
Peter was a classic eccentric character, and I remember going up to the Gold Coast and he explained his concept for a new pro contest.
It started, I guess, from the basic fact that I went through most of my surfing competition with 6 to 12 people in the water at the same time, all wearing different coloured t-shirts. Judges would sometimes get colours mixed up. I swore that one day, if I ever had the chance, that I would throw the whole thing out the window.
The 1977 Stubbies was the beginning. That was the perfect launch of professional surfing.
Main thing was to get man on the stage. It was now the realism of the battle between two competitive people on a surfboard. And so if you got an audience up close, right on Burleigh Headland, it was amazing. It was like watching a movie.
And people could see that it was so much more marketable.
And from a sponsor's perspective, that's what he wants. He wants people to come down to the beach and be interested in that competitive battle between two guys.
You felt like you were at a world-class sporting event. Druin had the vision.
The 1977 World Tour was the first one where we actually went from the start of the year to all these locations, all linked up, and then made a tour that linked around the world.
One thing it failed to do was popularise the idea of the Stubbies shorts. They look really bad, but their main defect was that your balls fell out the bottom of them. So Stubbies, as a fashion statement, didn't have that much impact. Stubbies as a surfing event really planted the idea of the Gold Coast Surfing Spectacular.
Up till then, no one had been able to package it into something that could actually make sense to people that didn't surf, or even make sense to people who did surf.
And the surfing industry was riding on the coattails of that. One was feeding the other, one was fueling the other.
My family and I live here in Angourie. We really have been able to put down the family roots. If you can go down as a surfer, you've lived a good, clean life, you know. You never stop doing what you do with your passion, you know, what you do with your heart, you know. I mean, that's what I'm passing on to these guys, you know. You just keep doing it, you know.
With people like my father originally making it possible, my job involves getting video footage, film footage, and still photographs to portray the idyllic surfing lifestyle. Being a free surfer is very much being a commissioned artist, because I think sponsors want to portray something beautiful. You know, they're trying to sell their product and they want to show it on a beautiful canvas. I wanted to be what my dad wanted to be. You know, a lot of kids tend to be that way. It's an avenue you want to follow. And it took a hell of a lot of work to have the monkey off my back, and that being my dad, of being such an innovator and an incredible surfer, for me to somehow come out of that shadow.
I'll never forget that wave of bows. It goes down in my mind forever. You know, one of the best waves that I've seen forever, and certainly one of the best waves I've ever seen him ride. The mindset of a lot of the people that come here is getting in touch with somewhere that is like nowhere else on earth. I say that wholeheartedly, that I've never been anywhere near as beautiful, and I understand why they moved here.
I am Tashani Hartswell. I do woven magic medicine.
I'm Tom Burry, and I'm a professional body piercer.
We make organic preserves. We work the farm together from morning till dark.
My name's Scott Miller. I play didgeridoos and make didgeridoos. I import blankets from India.
My name's Kerry and I make fairies.
I'm a revolutionary holistic nutritionist.
Byron Bay Organic Donuts.
I grow organic coffee. It's possibly the best coffee in the world.
Hi, my name is Gary and I make soap.
I feel the influence that my mother and father had on Byron Bay in the 70s every day. A huge amount of people from my generation that believe in the virtues and the beauty and the love and understanding that was created through surfers in the 60s and 70s. I think for that period of time, surfers and their families and friends had found freedom. And these people formed a giant group which turned into a very large tribe. And that definitely transcends to the people you meet in the water and the kind of surfcraft they ride. We have been highly influenced by that generation. We get to believe to a degree while we're on these waves that we're in that point in time, which is a simpler life where change was possible and where change was within us all. And feeling like you're from that period is a pretty cool thing because it feels relevant now. I see the future of surfing only coming from the style and aesthetic in surfing. Just like paintings on a wall, a young artist is looking at old art and he sees where he wants to create his lines. He can add, but he can't take it away.
Well, the Snap Rock Surf Riders Club was established in 1964. It's a real family club. I mean, we have kids that come through, and you have all different walks of life, and some kids get in trouble, but they're always welcome in the club. They come to the club because it's their family, and the club's always there for them. Parents today love their kids to be involved with something like surfing because it's such a healthy physical outdoor expression. It's an athletic endeavour. You'll find that most of the surfing kids are really into surfing, and all they want to do is surf all day, and then they come home and instead of wandering the streets looking for trouble with all this energy, you can focus all that into winning a surf competition.
I remember saying to Rab when I was that young, I want to be a professional surfer. He was like, oh well kid, you got a lot to do and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm dedicated. You know, I really want to do this. And
I raised Dean. He came and lived with me from, you know, between the age of 11 and 20.
He was like a guardian angel for me. I needed that guidance because I didn't have it at home.
He found me, you know, he wanted me to be in his life and wanted to surf in the club and he wanted to hang out with me and that's what club surfing's all about.
A huge part of making my dream successful was being in Snapper Board Riders, and that's where your dream kind of starts.
Dean's rivals in the under 14 division was David Rastovich, and then in the under 15 division it was Joel Parkinson and Mick Fenny. I could see it coming. I could just see these kids from the Gold Coast that were just like the best in the world for their age.
I think competition for me, it just gave me that one thing to focus on, you know. That's all I knew and that's all I wanted to do. And everything in my life was, you know, came around that.
The real golden time is now. They're on $1 million contracts. It's the ultimate.
My whole surfing life began on the Gold Coast amidst crowds of 100 to 200 people in the water daily, and I was competing as a junior surfer amongst all Parko and Dino and Mick and everyone in the whole scene until I was about 20 years of age, where I then checked out and moved about 40 minutes down the coast and stopped competing altogether, started surfing on my own. So I've lived in both environments in terms of my surfing for about the equal amount of time now. I have dear friends who come from the history and the timeline of surfing on the Byron Shire areas, and also I devote a lot of my time to this moment right now here and what's cutting edge in surfboard technology right now and surfing right now. Suburban people would see the life I'm living and I would easily be called a hippie, a tripper. I hear people just calling me a tripper. Oh, he's out on some trip or something. What is he doing there? That guy's tripping, look at that board. Or And then on the other side of the fence, you got the ultra hippie soul surfer, would see what I'm doing and say, you're driving a car, you're wiping your bum with toilet paper, you've got an electric fridge, you're a sellout.
Exhibit A, the contest surfer. Commonly identified by his clean-cut hairdo, chiseled physique, red sports car, billboard and surf shop, the contest surfer can usually be found on the Gold Coast. With an endless supply of mechanical barrels, the Gold Coast is the perfect place for the contest surfer to perfect his routine for the next contest. When the contest surfer isn't surfing in contests, he can be found training for the next contest, drinking beer and signing autographs with Exhibit B, the free surfer. Often identified by his bum-like appearance, the free surfer is a little harder to generalise than Exhibit A, for at the core of the free surfer's image is the need to be different, unique and special. Free surfers will go to great lengths to do this, join Eastern religious cults, bend themselves into awkward positions and pay exorbitant airline extra baggage fees for their tribal instruments and quiver of waterlogged retro surfboards. Byron Bay and other country towns in New South Wales, with an adequate array of tasty waves, incense shops, yoga studios and organic fruit and veg stands, provide the free surfer with an appropriate atmosphere in which to achieve wave sliding enlightenment.
On behalf of the ASB, the president of ASB, please make him welcome, Rabbit Bartholomew.
Thanks, John. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to also welcome you on behalf of ASB International to the launch of the Quicksilver Pro and the Roxy Pro. At 17 years of age, I dreamed of what I wanted to be, and I'm kind of doing it. And I enjoy being president of the ASB. It's a really challenging position. I get to have a guiding hand in the present and future of professional surfing and work with the surfers and the industry and the other stakeholders and try to continue doing what's in the best interest of the sport. The Quicksilver Pro, the Rip Curl Pro, the Billabong Pro, they tell the story of the ASB World Tours.
It's always been the one championship, the one tour. We don't have rival tours or other tours. It's the top level of our sport.
And it's a long, year-long race. It's the best of the best fighting for the titles. That Quicksilver Pro cost like $2 million to put that on. That's just to put the event on. It's a huge investment. It's an investment that works for them.
Champions, being crowned as champions, is something that we all need.
This free surf retro angle has grown and grown, and so forth, generating another niche for people like myself to go out and shoot. The people I'm working with, Dave Rastovich, Bo Young, they're all our northern New South Wales surfers that promote this wonderful free flowing surfing that comes with the area.
role in the surfing world is a contingency plan where, from a sponsor's perspective, they're kind of covering their bases. A free surfer person like myself is illustrating the flip side to the competitive character. I get the food on my table and the roof over my head through going surfing and using people's products, and my support of their stuff in turn brings their support of my stuff.
Constantly out there working with photographers, promoting themselves, working with videographers, promoting themselves. And when you look at that in comparison to your Gold Coast CT surfers, there's not a lot of difference in this day and age. It's just a different way of marketing yourself, and obviously a different style of surfing. But really, at the end of the day, the two are very similar, and probably most people would never see it.
This is finals day of the Quicksilver Pro. Certainly is, and we definitely want to thank everyone for braving the conditions to enjoy.
I've been writing about and observing surf contests for many years now, so I'm kind of in the fortunate position where I get to come to an event just to watch and let myself get curious about something that's happening here. The results of that end up in the surf mags around the world. These events only draw the attention they do because of the stars involved, and without surf stars it's impossible to imagine these events having any relevance to the wider surfing community or to anyone else for that matter.
You're watching the quarterfinals, folks, of the Quicksilver Pro presented by Samsung.
Kersey getting the best. Here we go. Josh Kirkbrell again behind the rock. He's in a chew and skew section. And he's out. Oh, mate, I was just about to say, Mick Fanning, you need a 9.38, mate. Here we go in the barrel, Mick. Absolute trainer. Big Saul is in there again. Double barrel clip. Right, Mick in again. Mick Fanning barrel. Barrel and out. Oh. As Mick would say, shut your lips. But he has got absolutely. Mick Fanning takes the 19.53 to Josh Kerr, 19.
The corporations, Quicksilver and Billabong and Rip Curl, have really pushed the media side. Surfing is different from other sports. We actually do our media in-house and create it on-site and send it out worldwide. That's the way that we've survived.
All the media streams have really learnt how to present the sport at the highest level, and it's the only way that they can get to the multi-million audience.
I am doing the website commentary for the Quicksilver and Roxy Pros pretty much around the world. The internet works really good for us because it's live action. It's you can now take it into people's homes, and the more education and the more understanding we do have within our sport towards the general public and worldwide, I think it's going to grow.
If you live in coastal areas of most of the Western world, you're touched by surfing. There's surfers in sort of every family, and it's good to see that growing and developing.
Well, having a look at this one, this is Kelly Slater slotting into the tube. Look at this wave. Incredible stuff. He's out on the open face, folks. Unbelievable barrel ride. Who's giving it to him, mate?
I got real interested in this about 2 years ago, and I started interviewing all the world champion surfers over time, and I just started asking them, tell me what that competitive urge feels like inside for you.
He's in. He's slotted. Where is he? He's out.
And pretty much all of them answered with either anger or desperation.
I think everyone longs to be free surfers, thinking that they've got this idyllic lifestyle and they're lying around doing nothing. If he doesn't go on trips and he's not at home working with photographers, he's not in the magazine. Yes, sure, they don't have to worry about the contest hassles. They've got other hassles and other things going on where they're constantly out there trying to justify to their companies that they're worth it,
Oh, that sounds stupid because they seem to have this buffed out life, but really it's an unbelievably stressed life. And once that raw, desperate, angry desire to survive in any situation gets ignited, that's when a competitive athlete rises to the full height of achievement, And so there's this slightly darker side to winning all the time. It's not all wine and roses for the winner,
The 2007 Quicksilver Pro Final. Look at this section here in front of him, Mick Fanning, head to the eyeball. He's out again. Massive big speed cut. Well done, Mick Fanning. A fantastic effort. Surfed really smart right throughout the event. He is the 2007 Quicksilver Pro champion. And I tell you what, who will be side? I dare say the beer will be flowing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, give it up for both these guys. They did a great job. We're also going to thank the Gold Coast Surf Council.
Surfing started off as an eccentric pastime of a few hundred people, then a few thousand. These days, the industry is working hard to mainstream the sport so that it grows the consumer base.
Wherever you are in the world, you're never far from a billboard that's got a wave on it. Those images are being propelled everywhere. So it's not a huge step to think that the participation levels of surfing around the world have also been influenced by the same factors.
And it's just brainwashed people. That's what it's done. People have seen so much of it, they just think all I got to do is paddle out there, get one, and I've instantly got the barrel of my life.
Why would anyone paddle out at any section of the surf bank when they can see that there's 400 people in the water already? I guess that's one of the great cultural questions of surfing at the moment.
The product speaks for itself. You look at these guys, they'd sell their grandmother for a set wave.
Human nature, unfortunately, testosterone of people trying to become somebody.
We live in this system and society where everyone wants to be a star.
we are humans, you know, like the rest of the species, and there is, you know, a certain amount of mimicry in our genetic evolution. And so the company's just cottoned onto this. So they needed to take these surfers who the surfing world looked up to and deck them out in their gear, and they could then control this whole supply and demand chain to build really prosperous empires. And they've done it really successfully and really efficiently.
They promote these people to the point where people can rise to the occasion, pull them all together and lift them up. It's like the second coming, but instead of Christ, they're just creating a range of clothes, you know, and they're using surfing as the vehicle to sell that. That mightn't have been that initially. That's what it is now.
There's a danger that young surfers could just get caught up in hero worship and logo consciousness if we're caught up in wanting to be like our surf star hero, or just hoping to impress some kind of nameless audience. Yeah, we're really missing the point.
It's simply an attractive thing which has also power, and it also gives you a personal empowerment. It's a matter of how we understand that and how we appreciate it or not, how we abuse it or not, and that's the last part of it, the environmental aspect.
I'm a surfer first and foremost, but I'm also a scientist, and right now what I'm working on is trying to translate surfing into a language that business and politics can understand. The images generated by surfing come from pro surfers, either in competitions or soul surfing, are being used to promote the romantic notion of the coastal lifestyle without any thought as to the consequences of more people impacting on a very fragile environment. And if we see development interests taking precedence over environmental or surfing interests, and we see coastal water quality being affected, creating massive amounts of illness or ill health, that dream becomes a nightmare. The ability of pro surfers and the surf industry to make statements, positive statements about the need to better manage or to look after surf quality is phenomenal. I'm just a coastal scientist. Nobody listens to me. But if I was a pro surfer and I was delivering an environmental message, everyone would listen to me.
There is two sides to the story. There is the surface level appeal of surfing. There's all the image side of it, the popularity side, the sexuality side, the productivity, the money, all these things come around, which is really appealing as a purely visual thing. But then underneath all of that is the actual act of riding a wave and how special that is. People will say, how is that helping you going out and going surfing for a little while? How does that help the greater good? That joy, that absolute reverence for the environment and everything within it is actually pretty much what I feel we're here for. Every single one of us has our own abilities and specialties and ways of doing things. And when we naturally feel gratitude for our local beach, our local area, then we'll naturally come up with our own way to look after, maintain, and love it.
This is a time when surfers have an unbelievable opportunity, because where we can utilise the industry and the profile of pro surfing is to get clout and to get political clout. And that political clout can come from all of us joining forces, the recreational surfers, the pro surfers, the industry. And we can make legislative change that will preserve and conserve this coastline, maintaining this beautiful lifestyle.